Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my continuing top 100 albums of all time. This has been really fun to do so far, and 60 through 41. Am I saying that correctly? 60 to 51 to 41. Yeah, doing sections of 20 here at a time. One of the caveats I didn't say at the beginning of this whole series was I'm not including certain types of things, right? Greatest hits albums, live albums, and let's say compilations, stuff like that. So some of the like jazz sessions recordings that I really love aren't going to be on this list necessarily. Greatest hits albums and live I kind of debated about, but then it would have been a lot more of even my favorite bands ever. So it's just studio albums is kind of what we're focusing on here. What you're going to see today is going to be, of course, a lot of rock music, a bunch of ska, and a couple of cool other little surprises around in genres outside of that even. But what we're going to be kicking off with at number 60 here, this is one of my favorite newer, I'll just go ahead and call it. It's a new ska band. New.
In a small town in big ska country, they sell it for $1 so they can turn a profit. It's a vicious cycle and the only way to stop it on a turntable.
So the Interrupters are a band that I only discovered when I was going to the gym, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. I don't remember how long it's been at this point, but I was at the gym and I heard this awesome ska song being played on the sound system there. I thought, this is weird, because this sounds straight out of the 90s, like straight out of like 90s ska punk, third wave kind of stuff. Why is this being played at the gym? They're usually playing music that I really hate, actually. But it was the Interrupters, so I Shazammed it, I found them, and then I discovered one of my new favorite bands. This is 2016 Say It Out Loud is the album here at number 60. This is, I'm trying to remember if this is the first album offhand, right? But there's a couple of just fantastic songs right from the get-go, By My Side and She Got Arrested. Great storytelling kind of stuff, that uplifting, just that uplifting kind of music. And unlike Real Big Fish, their songs tend to have a lot more of themes of togetherness and hanging out and stuff. They're very clearly inspired by Rancid. They're actually on their record label that Armstrong put together. So, but yeah, just like a bunch of great songs on here the whole way through. Just listening through this album is just so familiar and reminiscent of a past decade that I musically miss, right? But man, this album, so good. That's why it's number 60.
Feel the wrath of the super rat, super rat, super rat. Attacked by snakes. By snakes. I don't know, man. You must die.
I've said before about the Aquabats that I love their showmanship and their creativity, their Saturday morning children's cartoon-esque personas and everything. MC Bat Commander and the whole gang, Chainsaw, Crash McLarson. I mean, just great personas, stage personas and stuff. And Fear of the Aquabats, I believe, is their sophomore album, their second album after the return of the Aquabats, as I pointed out humorously last section. And this, they really nailed down the audio and the production stronger, and they made a much better album. And there's just so many great songs. Super Rad is like their biggest radio hit, if memory serves correctly. But so many joyful songs like Red Sweaters, this childish childhood kind of a song of beauty. The fight song, Magic Chicken. Cat with Two Heads. I mean, and that's the thing is, like, they just have so many iconic villains. They just say live, like, it's the cat with two heads, and the crowd goes wild. Or they talk about Powdered Milkman, who's going to come out there with this, with this fire extinguisher and spray powder all over the place. I love everything about this. Let's move on to, I don't know, maybe one of the more controversial picks of my choice here.
I wonder what there was this reindeer flying.
What is there to hate? I mean, it's really so subjective. No, I really don't hate Christmas.
All I want for Christmas is a rock and roll electric guitar.
Chris, why is this your number 58 album? It's my most listened to Christmas album. I don't know, I unabashedly love Phineas and Ferb, and anyone who watches that show will tell you that the music in the show is top-notch. A lot of the songs in this, the first several tracks, from Winter Vacation, What Does He Want, all the way down to Thank You Santa, right, to the 8th track. Those are all from the hour-long Christmas special, which is still one of my favorite bits of holiday media ever. It's just so wholesome and delightful and fun. And it's the thing that my family watches every year at Christmas. So I love those songs. And then the rest of the tracks on here, they just like went in and were like, we'll make a full Christmas album. Some of them are fantastic covers, as you heard. Run Run Rudolph is one of my favorite versions of that song. And the Perry the Platypus riff on the Snowman. What's that snowman name? Frosty the Snowman. I mean, it's just, I get a good laugh out of it every single time. Every single time. This is my favorite Christmas album. I say so unabashedly.
You know we got a good thing going, and I've got a funny feeling we're all born to lose. I gotta go before I do something stupid.
Real Big Fish back with another entry here on the list. That whole late 90s into the early 2000s ska scene. This is 2002's Cheer Up. First off, album cover, phenomenal. If memory serves, I believe that Aaron's father, the lead singer and guitarist of the band, I believe it was his father, was a comic illustrator, and so he drew them this delightful album cover of this clown with a cigar. Cheer up, kid! And so yeah, it just encapsulates so much of this album. The happy, goofy tone underlying a bunch of just sad and I don't know, just a lot of songs like A Little Doubt Goes a Long Way and such. Now, Good Thing is actually a good, happy song. It's oddly upbeat and fits its positivity. But man, like so much of the stuff on here is great. They have a wonderful cover of Boss DJ from I'm drawing a blank on the band that does Santeria. That's the thing about recording stuff is sometimes you just forget things. And so anyway, so Cheer Up, fantastic ska album, a wonderful album that all around you should listen to. I love 80s Iron Maiden. And they're a band that in a lot of ways I'm more familiar with from like live performances, live concert DVDs and whatnot, and some of their singles, but they also have tons of just great albums. And Power Slave, originally from 1984, such a great example of this, right? Kicking it off, intro track of Aces High is just so just rip-roaring and fast-paced and exciting and just... Oh my gosh, the vocals just like soaring as high as thematically as the planes of the song and the dogfight and everything. Some of the greatest guitar solos I just adore. And then you just kind of go through all of these tracks here, all the way through. I mean, Power Slave is so good, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. This is a fantastic album. And Iron Maiden, if they weren't so cool, they would be viewed as like the nerdiest heavy metal band in history. The problem is that they have just so much attitude and coolness to them that people forget, like, oh, they're just writing songs about history and literature. Nerds. Anyway, love Iron Maiden, love Power Slave.
Swinging not to life by the skin of my teeth, swaying to the symphony of destruction.
Before, on the last section, I had Megadeth's System Has Failed album, but Countdown to Extinction from 92. Yeah, 92. Ooh, this is such a good album. Such a good album. It starts off, right, with Skin of My Teeth, and and then it gets into just, I don't know, has a weird variety of songs on here, like Psychotron is just kind of dumb, nod your head along, bang your head along. There's Symphony of Destruction and another High Speed Dirt's kind of another one of those like dumber sounding songs. But there's really good stuff in here. Foreclosure of a Dream is one of my favorites. Nice, more mature sound that Megadeth has grown into without losing who they were in a lot of ways, and still features some of Dave Mustaine's worst vocal capabilities ever. Hello, me. Meet the real me. Anyway, if you can listen to a great band and ignore not great vocals, then Megadeth is for you. But no, this whole album is so good, so good. Countdown to Extinction.
Going to the party like my name was El Nino. Hanging out, drinking in the back of the Been too deep and I'm trying to keep up a body mind.
So this album, All Killer No Filler from 741, takes me right back to being in middle school. I remember the girl I had a crush on, you know, her and I hanging out talking, walking down the hallway, and I was like, oh, wait, you love 741 too? And just like singing along to a bunch of the lyrics, and that was like one of the best days of middle school ever. I hated middle school. But, you know, this takes me back to all the good parts of it. It's funny how an album can have such a salient effect on your memory, the way that a smell can or something else. So I think that this is a very good album. Short, punk rock, the way that it should be. And yeah, just the amount of talent that is in this band is a little surprising. I think that some of the songwriting in here is better than expected, right? For just like early 2000s punk rock band. We're going to put numbers in our names. This is before the whole, we're going to put the at the front of every band name, right? But I think that some of the songwriting in here really highlights a sense of creativity more than you would assume from that album cover of just everyone like shaking their faces and stuff. And the final track, Pain for Pleasure, is obviously such a beautiful nod to Iron Maiden, and it's just one of those like, it's just one of those like cute winks at the camera. They know that they're not as talented as Iron Maiden, but they wrote a heck of a tribute-esque song. What's the quote, right? Imitation flattery that mediocrity can render unto greatness, kind of a thing. But you know what? It's really talented. But I love a lot of the stuff off of this album. So, All Killer No Filler.
My, this here ain't a good guy. Maybe Vader's that's your horoscope for today.
I love Weird Al, and I love this album cover. Just from the beginning, right? Running with scissors and him with such determination. It's so good. It just encapsulates what I think is so wholesome and hilarious about Al. Man, Saga Begins is a tremendous song. From the album's from 1999, and so this song hit, basically it was released as the movie was released, more or less, right? And so legend has it that he was able to get some, like from Lucasfilm, he was able to get some of like the ideas of the film treatment so he could write this song, which is an amazing encapsulation of Star Wars Episode 1. Also dating this album. But look at these parodies. Pretty Fly for a Rabbi, which is ridiculous, right? All about the Pentiums. Man, once again, Weird Al being more culturally relevant than many of the bands or the groups and stuff that he's parodied in here. And yet, some really good stuff. Bare Naked Ladies and Offspring are obviously still relevant and stuff. But once again, look at Weird Al's originals, right? Songs like, Truck Driving Song, obviously, is done in a particular style. But Horoscope for Today is of its era. It's 90s ska punk type of stuff. But it's a good one. I crack up from this one pretty often. So yeah, Running with Scissors, fantastic.
Taking away the moments that make up the dough. Money, get back.
Dark Side of the Moon is an iconic album from its cover down to the whole mystery, the allure of can you time it right with the Wizard of Oz movie and go through that kind of trippy experience. But just the album itself is so good. Every song on here, so much of this kind of psychedelic era really speaks to my tastes, and just the musicianship, the amount of craft that goes into these songs, the fact that it feels almost operatic at points. It almost feels like it's just an intense jazz club, a smoky jazz club with just tremendous performance going on. Oh my gosh, what can you say, right? Brain Damage, great name for a track, and just phenomenal track. Time and Money are some of the more iconic tracks off of this album still, but yeah, just every part of it, listening through it. And if you want to do the Wizard of Oz thing, if it puts you in that place, fantastic. But if you just I miss being able to just sit down and not do anything, that just listening to an album was an experience. And so I try to do that still, and this is one of those albums I think deserves that and really benefits from that. So yeah, that's Dark Side of the Moon.
Brother, 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 Lucy and you like no other. Listen very close, cause I don't like to put out fires with a 40 ounce of water. You know you're all. Can I kick it? Yes, you can. Can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
I almost didn't want to hit the button to come back from this. I want to listen to more of this album. People's Instinctive Travels is such a great album. Tribe Called Quest is an amazingly intelligent and thoughtful hip-hop group that really made it big in the 90s. And obviously Can I Kick It is just iconic. Every time it comes on, I'll stop what I'm doing because I'm going to listen to it. But Luck of Lucian, Push It Along right from the beginning. This whole album has this beautiful sense of pulling in and sampling from jazz and R&B artists and from other musicians that just elevate it so much and give it this unique flair. A Tribe Called Quest is really lauded for their use of like jazz music and stuff, and just if you're gonna listen to Luck of Lucian and then listen to Billy Brooks's 40 Days where they sampled some of it from, and it's so cool that they took a little riff from that song, made their own thing from it. But then it's also this great introduction because have you ever heard of Billy Brooks? No. And I haven't either. And that's one of the things I love about good use of sampling in music like hip hop and dance and stuff is that when you sample, when you pull from stuff and it leads people down these rabbit trails to go discover more and more music, go listen to Billy Brooks's 40 Days. It's amazing. But also go listen to People's Instinctive Travels and The Paths of Rhythm because it's such a good album, such a thoughtful, well-crafted, intelligent. And then there's like Ham and Eggs, which is just them like rapping about food, which is, I applaud that so much.
Lucky for you, you're the next one in line.
Bear Ghost. What a weird band. I had their other album, Jiminy, previously on the list here. And Blaster Piece is also an absolute delight. This is from 2016. This band's been around for almost 10 years. And I've only discovered them recently, like I said, because it was like a Spotify recommendation. And I don't think Spotify has a very strong sense of recommending music. And it doesn't help that my tastes are kind of all over the place. But this is one of the best ones that I've stumbled into. This is just... Necromance and Dancin' is such a great song. Star Killer, oh my gosh, if you want to have this like fun little like, kind of dance number kind of a thing with like almost like a cheerleader type cheering thing in the middle of this very intense and aggressive, I don't even know how to classify them as a band, and that's fine, and that's great. And I love when bands are not kind of shoehorned in one area. They just do whatever they want. So Bear Ghost, very impressive. Blaster Piece, phenomenal, fun album. The soundtrack to Sid Meier's Civilization 6 is my favorite video game soundtrack. Very close to including a few others, right? The Final Fantasy soundtracks and a couple of other games. But Sid Meier's Civ 6 is gorgeous. It's just one of the most beautiful pieces of work out there. Jeff Knorr is the primary composer for a lot of the nations. And what they did so well, you can kind of see here, right, that they have... And this isn't a full album listing, which is kind of weird on Spotify, but you can find the full album. You can listen to the whole thing elsewhere. And they take a country, they take one of the nations, one of the civs that you can play, and they go from the medieval era, ancient into medieval, into the industrial, into the atomic. Maybe they do have all of them on here now. It's been harder to find for some of the countries. And so they take the same theme of music, and then Jeff was able to compose it into these 4 different styles based on the era. Now, what do you do with America? It didn't exist in the ancient and the medieval world. Well, they make it work, right? But it's just this amazing musical journey of the progress through and the style of the arrangement representing that progress. It's so good. Every one of these pieces is so beautiful, and it's fun. The thoughtfully chosen pieces that are going to represent each civ, and how you transform that piece, either older than it is or newer than it is, and in sometimes both directions. If you are ever going to play a civ board game or Tapestry or whatever, throw this on in the background. Do yourself a favor. It's one of the best experiences you can have.
Nobody can take my car. I'm gonna race it to the ground. Come on. Space trucking.
Now, I've joked before about a couple of guitar riffs that you play that'll get you, booed at the guitar store and stuff. And of course, Deep Purple's Smoke on the Water is like one of those iconic riffs, right? That everyone learns how to play, and that's fantastic. Every kid who ever picks up a guitar should play that. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, do it, because that's what is so amazing. Deep Purple are amazingly talented musicians. Listen to some of these tracks. Listen to the musicianship, the virtuosity that they have, and listen to tracks like Burn off of the album Burn, right? And you can tell that they're classically trained and inspired in so many ways. And then you have Smoke on the Water, baby. And that's what rock and roll is so great for, is that it does take talent, it does take skill, and then sometimes less is more. And sometimes more is more, and this album is a great mix of all of that. Highway Star is such a blasting track, and this is just great song after great song, all the way through to Space Truckin'. Fantastic ending of this fantastical driving your big rig through outer space, baby. Love Deep Purple, love this album. Maybe hit the wrong button at first. That's fine. 47 here. Are you experienced by the Jimi Hendrix Experience? There's no way to overstate the impact that Jimi had on music, just all around, right? Especially guitar-driven music and everything. And so many of the tracks on here just have that confidence and that just kicking down the door and doing something different and weird. And I love the psychedelia era of guitar musicianship, and for so many different reasons. But and then slower, beautiful tracks, or melancholy tracks like Hey Joe, or Christ Mary. It's just there's so much. There's a lot of variety in here that goes from kind of the silly and the almost banal to just, I don't know, just awe-inspiring. I love Jimi Hendrix, love the Jimi Hendrix Experience and everything like that. Love tracks like Fire. That like kind of, not call and response, but that like very just like soul, driving kind of music. And then of course, like I said, just the guitar musicianship changed so much of the world. And I'll just love it. I know there's a lot of Sabaton fans in the comments that have talked about them and recommended different albums to me. I love The Last Stand. This one here is... I've noticed a lot of albums from the year 2016 in this particular video. I don't know why, but apparently a lot of good bands were making music really well in that particular year. But The Last Stand... Okay, so if you're not familiar, Sabaton is this melodic metal band that just does all of this stuff about history. All of their stuff is about like war and military history. They're super nerdy. They're kind of following in the footsteps of Iron Maiden in a lot of ways that way, right? Even though musically very different. You could almost describe them as power metal, but they're less dorky somehow. And so they do all of these themed albums. And this one is about Last Stand's valiant final effort kind of battles throughout history. And so, you start off with a track like Sparta, of course, that's pretty rockin' and everything. But The Last Battalion, and of course, right, the Winged Hussars has become like a meme within the fan group of Sabaton, right? You just yell, and then the Winged Hussars arrive, and you just scream that at the top of your lungs. I'm not doing that in the microphone here for sake of your ears, right? But you just scream it at some point, and it's like playing Marco Polo, right? If you're ever like, I wonder if this huge crowd of people, if there's a Sabaton fan, you just yell, and the Winged Hussars arrive, and someone else just starts rocking out and stuff. You found one. You found a fan there. So anyway, this whole album's so good. The use of syncopation is so well driving in this band's repertoire, and this album is no exception to that. Just very upbeat for being so heavy at the same time. I love it. Anyway, yeah, Last Stand, great.
One more time, got me feeling so free. We're gonna sing it all out, make it better. That's the big sense.
I really enjoy Daft Punk. I have no other groups that are in house or electronic music on my top 100 of all time. I just don't. It's not a genre I'm always huge into, but Daft Punk does a bunch of things that really impress me. Their use of sampling and their clear love of jazz and funk and soul is so apparent that it really elevates them, in my opinion, as musicians more than just kind of like electronic musicians, if that makes sense, right? And I might be speaking out of turn. I really might be, and I'm speaking a bit in ignorance of, I'm sure, other tons of talented electronic artists out there. But yeah, Daft Punk has this really cool analog sensibilities to their electronic music, is probably how I'd put it. Now, this whole album, Discovery, is benefited, I'm sure, greatly by the fact that it is a concept album that has that whole music video series, or basically an anime movie, that goes with it, that tells this whole story of the Crescent dolls and their outer space adventures and hijinks and stuff. If you ever have a chance to watch that, it's phenomenal. But listening through this album the whole way through, yeah, there's these big famous tracks, One More Time and Harder, Faster, Better, Stronger. That song got memed to death, and Kanye even sampled it and everything too, which is funny because it samples Cola Bottle, so it's the sample of a song. But pretty much every version of it is really good. Listen to Cola Bottle, babe, if you want just a weird, deep cut where Harder, Faster, Better, Stronger comes from. But Face to Face was a song played in that snippet, in the opening snippet there. Their use of sampling on that track is unbelievably accomplished and so fun to listen to still. And it feels unnatural, and yet it flows really smoothly. And then Too Long is a great ending. This whole album, so many of these albums I just want to finish and then go listen to right away. It's not a shocker, right? This is the highest selling album of all time in history, and by almost leagues of millions more sales than even the second highest album. But yeah, Thriller by Michael Jackson is a phenomenal album. I always have this memory. So I discovered a lot of music on my own. My parents didn't have a lot of CDs or records or anything around the house. In fact, my mom had, I can remember 3 very distinct CDs in the jewel cases on my mom's dresser that she had. She had Michael Jackson's Thriller next to Casey and the Sunshine Band's greatest hits and Don't Hurt 'Em, Hammer. The MC Hammer album that Can't Touch This came from. Those are the 3 CDs that were in my house at one point. The only 3 CDs that I have a memory of for a few years. So I discovered a lot of music on my own. However, Thriller is one of those that I listened to as a kid, and I really underappreciated some of the other great tracks on this album. Michael Jackson's creativity and his songwriting are just in so many ways unparalleled, and everything about this album so well done. The production, the panache, just venturing into bold areas. I mean, Michael wasn't sure that he wanted to be this guy who blended hip hop and rock, pop music and rock, and he was kind of convinced into doing it, having Eddie Van Halen come in and tear this guitar solo. That's just one of the most iconic, guitar solos ever in Beat It. Thank goodness that he was willing to make that, try something, stretch in new ways and stuff. So, Thriller, number 44. Van Halen, 1978. This is the self-titled Van Halen is the name of the album, but also, of course, the name of the band. And growing up as a kid and wanting to be the next fantastic guitarist in the world, of course, you're going to listen to Eddie Van Halen. But all around, this whole band had so much talent, except for David Lee Roth, whose superpower was somehow being really popular, despite being an awful vocalist. But it just fits so well that this album is great, that the Van Halen's whole catalog is amazing. He's such a bad singer. If you ever want to treat yourself to something really interesting, go online and look up I Heard It Through the Grapevine by Marvin Gaye, and look up, vocals isolated, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, and just listen to Marvin Gaye's vocal prowess. Listen to him, just every little detail about the way that he sings is so, enrapturing. It's so good. And then immediately after that, go and search in YouTube, Runnin' with the Devil vocals isolated, and just listen to David Lee Roth struggle to get out any lyrics with pitch and with any sense of actual performance. And instead he's just kind of going, ugh. Oh, yeah! It'll surprise you just how much the band carries the music and not the singing of the vocals, right? But everybody knows that, and yet they still love this album. There's so many great tracks, so many iconic tracks. And then even the lesser talked about tracks, like Ice Cream Man and stuff, or just Feel Your Love Tonight. Great standout tracks, which are underappreciated compared to the obvious standouts that deserve all the love and everything and all the attention that they get. Van Halen, such a good album.
Black coat, white shoes, black hat, Cadillac,
I mentioned earlier how the Interrupters are on Tim Armstrong's record label and clearly inspired by Rancid. Well, here's Rancid themselves, and Out Come the Wolves, one of the best punk rock albums out there, with obviously that ska influence and stuff as well. But what I'll say is I've heard many of the tracks off of this album, and it wasn't until more recently that I actually listened to the album through. And the whole album is fantastic, starting with Maxwell Murder, which is a great, just kind of more aggressive punk type song compared to some of the other ones on here. You heard like Ruby Soho and stuff, but just this awesome, fast-paced, great punk music. And all of a sudden it breaks into one of the best bass solos I've ever heard. And so, yeah, there's a great sense of musicianship with all of these guys. Tim doesn't have a great voice for singing and everything, right? But it doesn't matter, because so much of this is going to be attitude and I don't know, just a lot of it really ties in well together, right? His vocals aren't great, but much like Dave Mustaine, much like David Lee Roth, it fits so well. But yeah, some of the tracks on here are so good, and listening to this thing the whole way through, it just feels so comforting or familiar. I'm not sure the best way to describe it, but it's like it has a sense of familiarity, even though I've not listened through the whole album until more recently. But I adore it. I adore this whole thing. Great band, great album, and Out Come the Wolves.
praise
And lastly, rounding out this section, this video here, Brave New World by Iron Maiden. Love this band, and as I said before, if they weren't so cool, they would be viewed as some of the biggest nerds. Hey, how about we have this whole album around your, freshman year of high school mandatory required reading book? Brave New World. Fine. And then, tracks like Wicker Man, about the cult classic story. And just, the whole album is so good. This is the first album. There's the return of Bruce Dickinson after he had left. Iron Maiden had put out 2 albums, which were, pretty good. What was his name? Lane Steely Dan, Metal Dan. I forget the name right now of the interim vocalist that they had, but man, coming back with Bruce Dickinson was such a good move. The year 2000, I can't believe that this is so, relatively speaking, now earlier in their career compared to the year 2025. It's been a long time. This album's 25 years old. Oh, I still think of this as kind of a newer one, right? Change up of an era and everything, welcoming back Bruce Dickinson. But anyway, so many great tracks in your Love Out of the Silent Planet. So many anthemic choruses with Iron Maiden, as always. And there's, just great tracks on here. Part of the Rock in Rio album era, right? It was a lot of these songs, and so I have that extra bit of love because of that live album. But as I said, I'm not including live albums. So there we go, folks. That is more. There's more of my albums. I don't know if I went long. I don't know if I went quick or not on this one. I feel like I went longer. If you're still here, cool, man. Thank you guys. Thank you all so much for watching this. And as I've always welcomed before, please share your thoughts on some of these albums, any recommendations, especially based off of some of the stuff that you've seen from here. And come back again later for the next 20 as I go from 40 to 21. Some real great stuff, but it's going to be a little bit more, focusing a bit more on kind of my big love and tastes and stuff. But I think I still got some cool little curveballs in there for you all to check out. So comment below, let me know what you think. And until next time, I'm Chris Yee. Thanks for checking out the top 100 albums on the Dice Tower.
Hey, thanks for watching another video here on the Dice Tower. We really appreciate you stopping by and checking our things out. Thanks so much for joining us today. And hey, if you really like what we're doing here at the Dice Tower, then there are different ways to support the Dice Tower. One of those ways is through Patreon. We have links in the description to this video, and we have links to lots of other things we do down there, so definitely check it out. But either way, we're glad you watched us. Tell your friends about the Dice Tower. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vassell, and I hope you enjoyed this video.